hope you're doing well today, and I hope you really did enjoy your holiday. Happy Mazingira Day. The day is not over. I can still say that. My name is Victor Muyakane, and this is the Daily Report tonight. And on sign language, we have Rhoda Yamai. We want to give you an idea of what we have in store for you, and for that, here are the highlights. Tonight, 65% of more than 200,000 Kenyans who gave their views in the public participation of the Deputy President's impeachment supported his ouster. This, according to Parliament, ahead of the debate at the Senate next week.
400,000 responses were received, of which 65.1% supported the motion.
DP Rigathi Gachagua is turning out to be a lone ranger in government. 3 cabinet secretaries have come out to publicly support his impeachment.
Asante for standing together. Whatever it is, ule uamuzi mulifanya, sisi tuko nyuma yenu. Lakini muliufanya kwa asili 100%.
And school heads warn of a serious cash crunch in schools that could affect the national examinations.
Most of the schools during that time are not in a position to pay for the electricity bills, even paying the recurrent expenditure, the salaries.
But the government says the money has been released. All right, and we begin our coverage with matters around the public participation of the recent impeachment process. And Parliament now claims that at least 65% of Kenyans supported the impeachment motion against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua during the 2-day public participation exercise last week. The exercise, however, received the biggest disapproval rating in Gachagua's political backyard of Mount Kenya. Elizabeth Mutuku gives us more. And we shall be able to bring you that story in a little bit. But now something else is emerging, a trend, and let me tell you about it. Tonight, the Deputy President cuts a lonely and isolated figure inside President William Ruto's administration. This is after this week's impeachment by the National Assembly. A pale shadow of his former self during the bromance days with the president earlier on. President Ruto's studious silence on his deputy's tribulations despite a national apology and the subsequent celebration of Gachagua's impeachment by 3 of his cabinet secretaries, making Gachagua look like the unwanted man in this administration. Apollo Kamau begins our coverage tonight.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua's return to the National Assembly this week was perhaps his lowest moment in his 2-year stint as Deputy President.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
After his 2-hour defense before the MPs, his defense fell on deaf ears after 281 MPs impeached him, leaving him a lone ranger, unwanted and isolated, as President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga allies joined forces to impeach him.
Rigathi Gachagua has learned his job from his boss, that public officers must be called to order when they fell short of expectation. And I never saw anybody bring William Ruto here for impeachment, for criticizing the IG or the DCI. This is a very unfair allegation.
On a week, President Ruto has maintained a studious silence on a man he once referred to as a brother in 2021 during their tribulations under former President Uhuru Kenyatta. In a tweet making rounds on social media, President Ruto Cabinet Secretaries Hassan Joho, Aden Duale and Dr. Alfred Mutua have celebrated Gachagua's downfall, signaling Gachagua's fallout with his boss is no longer a secret.
Asante for the unity. Asante for standing together. Whatever it is, ule uamuzi mulifanya, sisi tuko nyuma yenu. Lakini muliufanya kwa asili 100%.
Na kiongozi anayeongea mambo ya shareholding na kugawanya Kenya, huyo ni mtu wa fikira za 1960s, 1950s.
CS Eden Duale in a post on X on October 7 after Gachagua claimed he helped President Ruto secure 7.2 million votes in their 2022 election victory, attacked Gachagua for lacking respect to the nominating authority, telling him the die is cast.
Gona gatuma aciari ciana ici ni cito muciaririe muciere ciemenyerere tondu ya mugikuyu tumenyerere twendane ndukanoe kahiu ugatheca murwanyu kwa mugongo arorete mbere.
With the second phase of the impeachment before the Senate, Secretary to the Cabinet Mercy Wanjau will be testifying against Gachagua for opposing cabinet decisions. Wanjau will be appearing as a custodian of cabinet documents. KEMSA acting CEO Andrew Mulwa will be testifying on the 3.7 billion shillings tender against Gachagua and his son. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja will testify on the Wakulima Market Traders relocation wars with the DP of the three public officials on President Ruto's speed dial. Gachagua, who premises his political capital in the Mount Kenya region, popularly known as Kusikiliza Ground, is not alone, as close to 20 MPs in the National Assembly from the Mount Kenya region continue to stand with Gachagua, with the latest being John Kagushia of Mukurweini, Nyeri County MP Rahab Mukami, Kieni MP Njoroge Wainaina, and Embu County MP Pamela Njoki. In the Senate, the Deputy President is not a lone ranger after he hosted 11 senators in August this year. From the Mount Kenya region, 8 of the senators have declared their support for the DP publicly, apart from Nyeri Senator Home Wamatinga, who continues to blow hot and cold, and his Laikipia counterpart John Kenyua. Apol Kamau, TV47.
Parliament now claims that at least 65% of Kenyans supported the impeachment motion against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua during the 2-day public participation exercise last week. The exercise, however, received the biggest disapproval rating in Gachagua's political backyard of Mount Kenya. Elizabeth Mutuku tells us more.
A report by National Assembly on recent public participation process in the 290 constituencies across the 47 counties on impeachment motion against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua shows that the motion received more opposition from his backyard of the Mount Kenya region. The exercise was carried out in 290 constituencies on Saturday after the High Court ordered for its extension from what was done in the counties on Friday. Parliament says more than 224,000 Kenyans participated in the exercise, with more than 146,000 supporting the motion.
Take your seats.
This is a representation of over 65% as compared to 33% who opposed. In Gachagua's home constituency of Mathira, 97.4% of the participants opposed the motion. Gachagua served as the Mathira Member of Parliament in the year 2017 to 2022. In Nyeri County, Mukurweini constituency had a disapproval rate of 96.97%. Other constituencies in Nyeri County showing significant disapproval, including Nyeri Town at 96.93%, Kieni at 91%, Tetu at 87%, and Odaya at 86%. Outside Nyeri County, the DP also received massive support in some areas of Nakuru County, including among them Subukia and Naivasha. In Murang'a County, residents also largely opposed the motion, particularly in Kigumo at 95%, Kangema at 95%, and Kandara at 91%. Other constituencies include Maragua, Gatanga, and Madhioya.
I wish to report that based on all that, over 200,000 responses were received, of which 65.1% supported the motion. while 33.81% opposed the motion, and 1.09% offered neutral or other alternative views.
The report also highlighted opposition in several Nairobi constituencies, including Embakasi Central at 79%, Embakasi North at 81%, Embakasi South at 73%, and Starehe at 67%. In Kiambu County, residents showed strong opposition, with Thika Town at 78%, Githunguri 77%, Gatundu North at 77%, Gatundu South at 75%. In Kikuyu, led by Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah, 70% of the locals are opposed to the ouster of the Deputy President, and Ruiru at 69%. In the Eastern Region, Kitui Rural constituency led with 93.36% of the participants opposing the motion. Other constituencies showing similar results included Mwingi North at 85.60%, Kibwezi East at 67.56%, Kathiani at 61.07%, and Matungulu at 63.80%.
Wacha ujinga hapa, usilete ujinga. Hapa ulete ujinga. Morara.
DP Gachagua has, however, faulted the process, which might form part of his argument in the courts.
The public participation in a very short exercise that was done. My response was not part of what was presented to the people of Kenya.
Senate is set to debate his ouster next week. Elizabeth Motuko, TV47, Nairobi.
A case has been filed at the Eldoret High Court to stop Chief Justice Martha Koome from swearing in any nominee for the position of Deputy President. This is if Senate upholds the impeachment of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua. This as sources claim that lobbying has kicked off in a section of political quarters for a possible replacement of Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua if the Senate will uphold the decision by the National Assembly next week. Sources indicate that many names have been fronted for a possible replacement. And as George Maringa now reports, President William Ruto and AUC chairperson candidate Raila Odinga have remained silent on the impeachment motion.
In under 2 short weeks, the ouster bid against Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has gained momentum and is now in the home stretch, the Senate. But even as President William Ruto's lieutenants remain vocal on social media and on the floor of the House, the president has remained silent, only updating his official activities via social media. Sources indicate that there is already talk of Gachagua's replacement, which could happen soon. Among the names flaunted is that of Interior CS Professor Kithure Kindiki. The professor of law was endorsed by more than 48 members of parliament in what was termed as Nyahururu Declaration. However, sources indicate that Kindiki might face a hurdle in proving to be a force on the William Ruto re-election in 2027. The former Tharaka Nithi senator is from the Mount Kenya East region of Tharaka Nithi, Meru and Embu counties.
He's one of the people who have been performing very well, and given that, I don't know whether he's going to be appointed, although we are more certain that we know who is going to be given, but we don't want to pronounce that.
Women leaders from the Mount Kenya region have also made it to the shortlist. They include Lands Cabinet Secretary Alice Wahome and immediate former chairperson of the Council of Governors Anne Waiguru. Another notable figure from the mountain is Kiharo MP Ndindi Nyoro. Ndindi has, however, reportedly rejected the offer, citing his young age. Nyoro is also said to be out of the equation over his silence on the Gachagua ouster. Gachagua, in a recent interview, termed Nyoro as his close friend, who even offered him shelter when he was facing it rough during the Uhuru Kenyatta regime.
Ndindi Nyoro is my very great friend, and is one of our young leaders ambaye nimementa, and I continue to mentor. He's a very bright young man. Na ndio hujaona yeye akiongea hii maneno ya kutukanana. Umesikia Ndindi Nyoro akitukana mtu? She's been very, very, very respectful na amejibeba kama kiongozi, and he has a future because yeye ni kijana ambaye anajua nini anafanya, na ni rafiki yangu sana. Hata siku tulikuwa na shida katika serikali iliyopita, siku nilikuwa nashikwa kila Friday, nilikuwa naenda kujificha kwake na kaa weekend, na bibi yake Sofia ananipikia chakula.
National Assembly Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah has also been mentioned as among the possible replacements of a man he described as having a dark heart. Prime CS Musalia Mudavadi's name has been mentioned in the matrix, whereas from the northeastern region, Environment CS Aden Duale's name has also featured. Duale is among the cabinet secretaries who have been vocal on the impeachment of his boss, Gachagua.
Mr. Speaker, he did not even step in Wajir and Mandera. This is a deputy president of the whole country. I support the impeachment. He must go home and create a room for other people to get that position. Maybe it's time for other regions to be deputies so that we can get the same benefits. Mr. Speaker, I can even do a good job myself.
If you read the Constitution, you'll know that you don't qualify to be a deputy president at your age.
As cracks persist between President Ruto and his deputy, equally persistent is the loud silence from the president, who is also UDA party leader. A recent research findings by Tifa Research Company favored Professor Kithure Kindiki at 37% as the most preferred replacement of Gachagua, followed by Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi by 5%, Kiharu Member of Parliament Ndindi Nyoro by 5%, Kirinyaga Governor Anwe Guru by 3%, and Homa Bay Governor Gladys Wanga by 2%.
281.
With the impeachment motion set to be discussed in the Senate on Wednesday and Thursday next week, sources privy to Gachagua's succession have alluded to a surprise move by the president, who could source a principal assistant from the opposition Azimio in the spirit of the broad-based government, with the aim of changing the whole structure of government. Notably silent as the impeachment continues has been AUC chair candidate Raila Odinga. Whereas the head of state hasn't made a public political statement, the clock is ticking to the Mashujaa Day celebrations set to be held in Kwale County, an event which pundits await to see how things play out and which will be 2 days after the Senate makes its decision on the impeachment. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
Still on the same subject, but a different angle to it. The ouster of the deputy president has been termed as historic, politically speaking. Though many of those who have served as Kenya's second in command, none has ever been impeached, apart from Kenya's sixth vice president, Josephat Karanja, who resigned from office just before a vote of no confidence went through. However, there is a huge contract in terms of the constitutional provisions. Then and now, as well as the political landscape in the country. All these are considerations to be looked after. Micah Gwongo tells us more.
Geoffrey Rigathi Gachagua is Kenya's second deputy president after his boss William Ruto served a 10-year term. Gachagua now being a man under siege over an impeachment motion. He's also drawing some lessons from what the fifth vice president Joseph Karanja went through in 1989. In relation to Gachagua's impeachment, we take it back to 1989, when the sixth parliament, through former President Moi's nod, orchestrated a plan to impeach Joseph Karanja from office. 1989 was the year in which President Daniel Arap Moi replaced Vice President Josephat Karanja, barely a year after he had appointed him to take over from Moi Kibaki. The man who would later replace Karanja, Professor George Saitoti, was a mathematics professor at University of Nairobi, whom Moi had nominated to Parliament and made Minister for Finance, the docket that Kibaki had occupied before he was removed from Vice Presidency. Unlike Kibaki, Karanja had posed no threats to Moi, but Moi got Parliament to pass a vote of no confidence against Karanja. According to the mover of the motion in Parliament, Embakasi MP David Mwenje, Karanja was undermining the president by planning to overthrow Moi's government by soliciting help from foreign nations. Former Webuye Member of Parliament Joshua Mang'oli told TV47 that he had been fronted to move the motion to ouster Karanja before he was shortchanged at the 11th hour in favor of Mwenje. Karanja was a member of parliament for Mathare constituency, currently Kasarani constituency, during his term as vice president, but later moved to Githongori constituency, which he won in 1992 after two previous failed tries against Adha Magogo. Other MPs who served in the same parliament include Noah Wekesa, Zipora Kitoni, Francis Ole Kaparo, Jilo Falana, and current Governor George Natembea's political advisor Joshua Mang'oli. Political historian Professor Macharia Munene says it was President Moi's tactics to use and dump his vice president, who could not align to his political ideologies.
Well, I think David Mwenje comes into the picture since he was in parliament. John Joseph Kamodo was also part of the team, and there was supposed mechanic Kuria Kanyinge, and they were kind of three musketeers, and their job was to discredit Karanja and say how bad he is and all those kind of things. And Karanja could not believe his ears. Karanja, who ostensibly initiated Moi Day holiday following his trust to Moi, eventually resigned from office to evade a vote of no confidence in parliament. Karanja is the one who pushed for the creation of a Moi Day on October 10th, 10 days before Kenyatta Day. He was given that job partly as an insult to intelligence. And they show how ridiculous some of these supposed bright, intelligent people are. And when he was fired, who did he put? He put a professor there, Saitoti, just to show how he can manipulate these people.
In what appears to be using Moi's playbook, President William Ruto has gotten the 13th Parliament to pass a motion to impeach his number 2, Rigathi Gachagua, who refused to align to specific ideologies fronted by his boss. Since Kenya got independence, Professor Munene says it was only President Mwai Kibaki's presidency that never had politics of betrayal when he appointed Kalonzo Musyoka to help him run the government. However, with a total of 281 MPs voting to impeach Gachagua, the 13th Parliament has been appraised compared to the 6th Parliament of 1988 to 1993, which pundits say was induced to pass motions in favor of President Daniel Moi.
There was no parliament to talk about. It was a proper rubber stamp. These ones, at least we can see some people who try to say they are there, but not too many. The parliament in 1980s cannot be compared with this one. This one is far much better, although it is very docile. And it has a lot of people who are scared. The source of fear, if you get a phone call from the president, it sends some chill to you.
Gachagua is expected to defend himself in the upper house next week. Mike Kagwango, TV47, Nairobi.
Now, away from matters, Deputy President, and still on matters impeachment, the political tension in Kericho is rife as members of the County Assembly differed on the impeachment motion of Governor Eric Mutai. This is ahead of the Senate sittings next week. The scuffle forced a funeral service in Chemosot Ward to halt prematurely, an event that residents and the clergy have condemned. Stanley Nyaringita reports.
What was expected to be a smooth funeral service of the former Councillor Jones Kiplagat Mutai in Kipkeriany Village, Chemosot Ward, Kericho County, turned chaotic following this speech in local dialect by the nominated MCA Dora Kano, who expressed her support for the impeachment of Kericho Governor Eric Mutai, sparking outrage among his supporters. Kano was forced to halt her speech after one of the supporters grabbed her microphone, thereby leading to a scuffle among those for and against the impeachment.
It might be because we had some of the MCAs saying 31 versus 16. Some of us, we don't know what is 31 and what is 16. And maybe that 1 and 16 could have been the reaction of what we saw or what we witnessed. And I believe that 31 and 16 might be the genesis of all these problems, and we need to advise our MCAs. It is high time to show respect when you are with the common mwananchi.
While condemning the incident that was attended by over 20 MCAs, the residents and church leaders have called on the political leaders to exercise restraint in public events.
Matendo ambayo yametendeka kwa ukweli hayakuwa mazuri, lakini asubuhi ya leo tulikuwa tumeanza vizuri, tukapanda miti, alafu tukasherekea, lakini hapo katikati kuna matendo ambayo yalitendeka yenye kidesturi hatujawahi kuwa kama wana Kipsikis.
This scuffle comes days before Governor Mutahi appears before the Senate next week on Monday and Tuesday. The governor, who was impeached last week after 31 MCAs voted in favor of the motion, is accused of gross misconduct, abuse of office, as well as gross violation of the Constitution. Stanley Nyeringita, TV47.
Thank you, Stanley. Now, 6 more people have been killed in the ongoing inter-clan clashes in Tana River County. This comes just days after 8 others were killed in the clashes that have lasted for a week now in the Anole area and spread to other areas of the county. Hundreds of locals have already fled their villages for safety. Several are nursing injuries while others are fighting for their lives in hospital. We apologize for the distressing nature of those images, obscured as they are. Folks, the need to prioritize mental wellness in workplaces has been recognized as essential for fostering a conducive environment for all employees. And as Kenya joins the world in celebrating the World Mental Health Day, Health Cabinet Secretary Dr. Deborah Baraza has emphasized the urgency of addressing mental wellness nationwide at a time when mental health cases have been reported to be on the rise. Arno Dida tells us more.
Kenya joined the global community in celebrating World Mental Health Day at an event held at the Mathare National Teaching and Referral Hospital in Nairobi. The commemoration, led by Health Cabinet Secretary Dr. Deborah Baraza, focused on the need to prioritize mental wellness in the workplace and across all sectors of society.
A significant portion of a person's life is spent in the workplace, and this environment can have a profound impact on their mental well-being.
However, the absence of a national mental health master plan in the country remains a significant barrier to effectively addressing mental health challenges.
The biggest problem challenging mental health in the country is the absence of a national mental health master plan.
Lack of insurance coverage for mental health patients also remains a pressing concern. This despite the rising number of mental health cases in the country.
There is no way we can provide mental health without operating within a sphere of human rights.
This comes at a time when the country's health sector is experiencing a major transformation. The transition from the National Health Insurance Fund (NHIF) to the Social Health Authority (SHA) promises a more inclusive framework for mental health coverage. SHA's introduction of the Emergency Chronic and Critical Illness Fund is designed to address the gaps that existed under NHIF, where mental health services were often sidelined or excluded entirely. The Ministry of Health has also reiterated its commitment to investing in mental health clinics and addiction treatment centers, while at the same time working to integrate mental wellness and addiction prevention programs into school health curriculums.
Counties deliberately invest in mental health clinics and addiction clinics in all level 4 hospitals.
The event also marked the launch of the Mathari National Teaching and Referral Hospital Strategic Plan for 2024 to 2029, which focuses on enhancing specialized psychiatric services, including forensic, psychiatry, and child and adolescent mental health care. Anne Odida, TV47.
That story by Anne Odida really puts a cap on the first half, or rather first quarter of our news. We want to take a short break. We'll be right back with more content. Please don't go away.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m.
Welcome back. For those of you who are joining us right now, this is the TV47 Daily Report with me, Victor Muyakane, and now on sign language we have Ms. Jebi Watt. Now, the Kenya Secondary Schools Heads Association, that is KESHA, has raised concern over a severe cash crisis that threatens to disrupt the upcoming national examinations. KESHA chairperson Willie Kuria warned that rising school debt could hinder the purchase of essential lab equipment and materials necessary for the national examinations. And as our Education Affairs reporter Andreen Kilemi now tells us, the situation could lead to early school closures if the remaining capitation funds are not released soon. Though the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Dr. Belio Kipsang, says that the government has already released the money to the schools.
As the clock ticks and the national exams approach, school heads across the country are grappling with rising debts that threaten to interfere with the administration of national examination. A spot check by TV47 reveals that many secondary schools are yet to receive their third-term capitation in full.
Initially, it was at 22,224, was seen to be almost sufficient to cater for all this expenditure. But when the issue of infrastructure was introduced, that means this fortress was affected, and that's why you find most of the schools during that term are not in a position to pay for the electricity bills, even paying the recurrent expenditure, the salaries is a problem.
Schools have so far received 15,192 out of the expected 22,224 shillings per student. 3,850 was directed to the SIBA account for infrastructure development, leaving schools with only half of the funds needed for tuition and daily operation.
When you tell suppliers to bring items for the exam and you have not paid them the outstanding balances, they are very reluctant. That is where the problem is. All the schools are going through challenges paying suppliers, because if you do not have the money which is budgeted for, then it means we are compromising on service delivery. And that is why we are saying we need money so that we can be able to run the exams smoothly.
In a letter dated October 9th, KESHA chairperson Willie Kuria raised the alarm, warning that the rising debt burden may prevent schools from purchasing crucial lab equipment needed for the national exams. He also emphasized that the infrastructure fund should come from the Constituency Development Fund, CDF, and the ministry's transition infrastructure grant and not the capitation kitty. And if the remaining funds are not disbursed soon, schools could be forced to close early. Andreen Kilemi, TV47.
Human rights groups and activists today organized an advocacy session that brought together residents of Kware in Mukuru-Kwanjenga slums in honor of the lives lost during the Gen Z-led anti-finance bill protests. Samira Mohammed now reports.
A section of human rights groups
Kenyans living in Lebanon are now calling on President William Ruto to intervene in their evacuation. In their distress, they request that since many of them have had bosses who have already fled the war-torn region, leaving some of them stranded, they are in dire need of evacuation. Right, there we saw our Foreign Affairs Cabinet Secretary, the Honourable Musalia Mudavadi, hobnobbing with some of his compatriots in the field, looking to look after this particular matter as well as Kenya's foreign affairs interests. Folks, today was Mazingira Day. I wonder where it is you were and what it is that you did. We wish to understand that, so send us your videos, your messages about this. The SMS line is on your screen. The WhatsApp number should be there as well. Let me know how the Mazingira Day went for you. But since this matter is quite serious, we would like to take this story once again, if you would indulge us in a moment. Kenyans living in Lebanon are now calling on the president to intervene for their evacuation. In their distress, they request and they say that since many of their bosses have already fled the war-torn region, leaving some of them stranded, their evacuation is inevitable.
Kenyans living in Beirut have urged the government to intervene and fast-track the evacuation as the situation escalates in the war-torn region. Regina Mbete Kialo is currently in Beirut, and she says that many employers of Kenyan citizens fled the region, leaving them stranded.
I would like to urge the government to please do something and come quickly to our aid. Some of the girls we have registered, but it's unfortunate I don't see much progress. And some of our girls are stranded on the streets because they lost their house, and right now they are in the streets with their bosses. Some have been abandoned by their bosses ran away and they have been left homeless.
Another Kenyan is also facing a similar situation in Lebanon with a child in Kenya. Her only hope is she will go back alive.
I'm fear for my life and my family at home because I'm the head of my family to take care of them. My mom is a single parent and my siblings stay with them. I'm the only one to take care. So my head is so full because I don't know what to do.
The government, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, has told them to register for evacuation. On Thursday, international media reported that Israel airstrike killed at least 28 people and wounded dozens of them, forcing them to run for their safety and seek for shelter at a school in central Gaza. Thousands of people from Gaza are nursing severe injuries as a result of Israeli bombardment. More than 42,000 people have died since last year. The Muslim community in Kenya is now mounting pressure on President William Ruto to intervene and help victims of the ongoing war in Palestine.
Kenya is known for its role in fostering peace, and this was seen notably in South Sudan and other African countries where our country tirelessly worked to achieve peace and stability. Moreover, Kenya, like Palestine, has lived through a harrowing tale of colonial oppression, where thousands of Kenyans were forced to live in concentration camps.
Paul Kirobi, TV47.
After TV47 highlighted the frustrations of Kenyan fishermen who were arrested in Madagascar, the three, Mbarak Awad Mbarak, Mohamed Bakari and Karisa Gonanguma, have been released. And of course, Blue Economy CS Hassan Joho has called out officials at the Kenya Maritime Authority for failing to follow up on the arrest of the fishermen since June this year in Madagascar. The CS says that the ministry will not tolerate lazy officials who are not serving Kenyans, as expected. The three fishermen have been provided with emergency travel documents and are expected in the country soon.
Nilisikitika kwamba juzi niliambiwa kuna vijana ambaye walishikwa Madagascar. Na nimesikitika kwamba nimesikia vijana wanatoka hapa. Sivyo? Mmoja anaitwa Karisa, Mohamed na Mbarak. Nimekutana na mzee hapa. Na mimi nimeambia hawa wafanyikazi wa serikali, especially hawa watu ya maritime, waache kulegea kwa kazi. Wajue hii wizara iko na waziri. Na hao ndio walikuwa wafaa waniambie mimi mapema kuna Wakenya ambaye wameshikwa. Sio mimi kusoma kwa gazeti. Katika wizara hii ya madini, uchumi samawati na mambo ya bahari, kazi lazima ifanye nini? Ifanywe. Kwa sababu unakuta watu wanalaumu, serikali imewacha watu wetu Madagascar. Kumbe kuna mtu mmoja tu, goigoi mmoja ankaa ofisini, yapigwa na air condition, ako na kompyuta hapo yuangalia TV tu. Nafurahi kusema ndugu gavana na yule kakangu mzee wangu, hawa vijana sasa tuwapangia mpango wa kurudi kwa uwezo Mwenyezi Mungu. Kama kesho kutwa watafika hapa na atakuwa tumesonga mbele.
The government has yet again issued a warning to those living on riparian land. Environment CS Aden Duale spoke on the day Kenyans marked the Tree Planting Day of Kenya across the country. Ruga Ival reports.
Environment Cabinet Secretary Aden Duale led Kenyans in marking Mazingira Day, warning those living on riparian lands that a stern action will be taken against them.
You need to map out all these apartments around here.
He urged Kenyans to engage in efforts that improve the environment by cleaning parks, rivers and beaches, and to participate in tree planting activities.
And all other urban rivers within our country. And that's why today, every part of our country, we have citizens engaging in planting and in waste management and pollution.
At State House Nairobi, First Lady Rachel Ruto led the Flama Awards, First Lady Mazingira Awards, aimed at recognizing students' contributions to environmental conservation.
We are gathered to mark two historic events: the first Mazingira Day celebrations and the inaugural winners ceremony of the First Ladies Mazingira Awards.
The initiative aims at encouraging students to take part in combating climate change effects.
Is that as we are here today, two very important things converge: the child and the environment.
In Vihiga County, Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, who led the exercise, said that his office is in discussion with various partners to adopt 200 hectares of restoration and reforestation of the Maragoli Hills forest in Vihiga County. However, few Kenyans participated in the exercise. Some of the counties that Kenyans participated included Kirinyaga, Siaya, and Mombasa.
Let us heed the call of preserving and conserving our environment for the future, for posterity, and indeed, even for ourselves. It is the right thing to do as we try to address the problem of climate change.
As a ministry, we have planted, previously we planted 37 million. We have added another 3,000 today. We are supposed to plant 500 million trees by the end of the 10 years. By the time we want to get to 15 billion.
We are heading for the short rain season, which is starting actually now. Some parts of the country have started to receive the rains, and we are prepared with the subsidy fertilizers, and we want also to assure the farmers that the quality this time of the fertilizer is very good. We have not like where we had issues in the last year. This time round we have procured quality fertilizers.
Ruga Ival, TV47.
A somber mood has engulfed Nyangali village in Bumula constituency of Bungoma County after a 16-year-old boy died by a suspected explosive device. The Form 1 student at St. Kizito Mayanja Secondary School is said to have picked up a device suspected to be a stone-splitting explosive in a Chinese company in the area. This story was produced by our Bungoma-based reporter, Sostin Wanji.
Nyangali village in Bumula constituency, family and friends of Albert Kisiangani are mourning their son. According to Enoch's parents, the incident happened on Tuesday when they were shocked by an explosion from the house.
Alikuwa tu kwa nyumba na mimi nikasikia mlipuko tu unalipuka sana. Nami nilikuwa nje kuenda kwa nyumba nikapata mtoto wangu. Ameweza kuumia, vitole vimetoka. Kila mahali tumbo imeumia. Tumbo imepasuka.
Tulikuwa nyumbani na kunywa chai kabla muda kidogo tu akaingia kwa nyumba. Kidogo tu dakika 5 tukasikia tu kiti nalipuka. Mlipuko mkubwa sana.
They allege that the explosives are from a Chinese-run company which break rocks to pebbles in the area.
Kaanza uchunguzi kupeleleza ilikuwa sitima, ilikuwa nini, lakini kupata kitu tukapata kitu kilipusi, kile kililipua mtoto na makanda yake mimi niko naye kwa nyumba.
Watoto wakiingia vile vilipusi ambavyo havijalipuka wanapepa wanaenda navyo. Na hiyo ndio sababu matara hii imepatikana.
Residents are now blaming the company for negligence for not setting restrictions and their safety. They also claim that they were not sensitized on the effects of the project setup.
Huyu mtoto mwenye alilogota hii kitu hakujua anarogota kitu gani. Lakini kulingana na utaratibu, hii kampuni kama ingekuwa imesingira waya hii shamba yao yote na iweke security ya kutosha, sidhani kama hii ingetokea.
Sasa hiyo ndio inafanya watoto wamebeba vitu mingi sana, imepatikana hata kwa mashule.
Walikuwa nazo, walikuwa na connect wakatupa kwa choo. Sasa kumaanisha ya kwamba kando na yule ambaye amekufa, usalama uko katika adari.
Muhakikishe kwamba kama kuna waya yoyote mahali, msitupe kwa choo. Mfahamishe wenye hapa, mzikolekti pale kwa maboma, waje wazichukue. Bure tutapoteza watu wengi zaidi.
Local leaders are demanding a thorough investigation.
Hatuziki huyo mtoto ambaye amekufa kabla ya hawa kuketi chini, watu waambie watakompensate huyu mtoto kwa njia gani. Ndiyo hii operation ya hapa tuanze kufikiria mambo ya security systems na mambo ingine.
They have vowed not to bury their loved one until they are compensated by the company and the site is fenced. Joash Onsare, TV47.
The Prime Minister of Haiti is in the country for a 4-day official visit to Kenya. The Prime Minister was received by the Kenyan Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi, who lauded the visit, stating that it will deepen diplomatic relations between the two countries. During his visit, the Prime Minister is expected to engage in high-level bilateral talks with the President William Ruto, with a focus on strengthening the long-standing ties between Kenya and Haiti, particularly on areas of mutual interest, including security cooperation and fostering partnerships that promote regional stability. Kenya has sent its security forces to Haiti for a peacekeeping mission.
Special representative for the Secretary General.